Hello again, partners. Here we are at report number 64. And this time we're going back to those horrible days of World War II for our honoree. His name is legendary. He was General Jimmy Doolittle. Many of today's young people probably never heard of him, but for those of us who were alive during World War II, he is a very, very well-remembered individual. General Jimmy Doolittle and his men performed a miracle. First, though, let me tell you a little about this man who became a legend. He was born in the San Francisco area, but spent much of his youth in, of all places, Nome, Alaska. Yes, his first love, so to speak, was to be a boxer. Hey, listen, it's amazing how many young men seem to be drawn to the fascination of boxing. Well, finally, the family moved to Los Angeles, and it was there that this young Jimmy Doolittle saw something that quickly changed his desire to learn the art of pugilism to something else. What was it? It was an airplane. Yes, an airplane performing in an air show in the Los Angeles area. Well, after college, Doolittle followed his dreams and became a flying cadet. He was such a good student that he was quickly promoted to first lieutenant in the Officers Reserve Corps of the United States Army. All of this happened just after the end of the First World War. Yes, he loved being a pilot. So Jimmy Doolittle worked his way up through the ranks, and by the time the Second World War broke out, he was so famous that Uncle Sam decided he was the right man for a secret mission that became legendary. But before I explain, this happened just 3 months after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. So, Jimmy, what did Jimmy Doolittle and his men do? Well, I'm glad you asked. They did the impossible. You see, early in 1942, the Japanese were sure that there would never be any way Uncle Sam could fight back. Well, after all, no American planes could ever get to Japan. It was just too far away. Oh, yeah, maybe some of our carriers could get close enough to Japan to launch a strike, but the small planes there flew off the carriers couldn't carry any big bombs. They had to have something that could carry a big bomb. So now, sit down, partners. Our honoree this week, Jimmy Doolittle, asked a simple question. Why can't a full-size bomber take off from an aircraft carrier? Nobody had an answer, so he asked that question again. Please listen to me. Why can't a full-size bomber take off from a carrier? He believed they could. Well, everybody thought Doolittle was just nutty as a fruitcake, but he proved that it would work. How did he do it? Well, the first thing he did was to paint the shape of a carrier deck on the runway of an airport. Yes, he painted carrier deck. He painted it right on the runway. Then he tried time and time and time to get his B-25 bomber into the air before he ran out of space on the airport. Remember, he's just literally trying to take off in a certain length of time. Well, he finally did it. It was possible to take off in a B-25 bomber from the deck of a carrier. Barely. So on April 18th, Jimmy Doolittle and his 16 B-25s took off from the tiny deck of the USS Hornet. They flew to Tokyo, dropped their bombs, and then flew on to friendly territory, China, and bailed out, just as their planes were running out of gasoline. Well, partners, to be honest, Doolittle and his bombers did very little physical damage to Tokyo. What they did do was to inflict massive psychological damage. What? Yes, His success showed the Japanese they were totally wrong in believing it was impossible for an American plane to take off of a carrier and strike Japan. Well, America was not about to sit still. American ingenuity could perform miracles. By the way, all but 7 of Doolittle's men made it out safely. Jimmy Doolittle, the man who performed a miracle. Well, partners, that's enough to get your curiosity racing, boiling perhaps. Next week, we're going to see what part 2 of this man's great imagination did to help end World War II. Yes, it's so important, Dinkster, as I call him, Dennis, is going to make it in 2 parts. Well, partners, you know the drill. Look up there to the right are 3 boxes. Number 3, farthest to the right, has that big red X in it that we all know. Yep, click it and instantly return to the report page for the rest of this week's comments. Boy, Dennis, your reports get more interesting every week. And you know how much I enjoy bringing them to you, partners. Thanks for your feedback each week. I really do love you guys so very much. Go get 'em, Tigers!